Welcome to the Exceptions Podcast, episode 23, I think. Yeah.
Yay! Welcome to Aries season. We're all fired up.
We're
Listen,
pumping it up.
yeah, the last few podcasts, I feel like my energy was just all over the place and really mellow and everything. That's so boring. But you know what? Aries season is here, meaning it's fiery, it's combustible. My friend sent me because I make jokes about astrology a lot, and he sent me a reel or TikTok. No, he sent me a reel. It was like, used to people with your astrology, this astrology, that. It was like a really aggressive video telling me to basically fuck off with my astrology. But anyways, like I said, it's Aries season, meaning it's spring. Woo! And the days are getting longer and the nights are getting shorter. So that's nice.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
But we talked for way too long. What are we doing right now?
Theme music.
No!
You know why? Because I just edited an episode I just made clips for an episode last night, so it's fresh in my brain.
I wanted to know. You can't stop.
You'll get me next time.
Ruining my joke. So, Jess, anything exceptional that happened this week for you?
Oh, man. Well, I was just thinking about how exceptional it is that it's been over a year now that we've been in this pandemic. Oh, lights are going to flicker. Sorry.
Jess has a demon in her house and her Zoom is...
It's the 1 year demon. But yeah, it's just interesting. I remember being told about a year ago that I was going to be working from home now. I was like, wow, this is going to be a cool couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I was like, this will be a cool, interesting couple of months. And now here we are. So
yeah, I mean, this is a very crazy time in life. I saw this video of this baby and she saw kids for the first time when she was a year old. And it was like, she's never seen this many children before out in the playground. Mm-hmm. Like, that's so crazy. I really feel sorry for for the young people, 16 to like 25. You definitely did miss out on a year or two.
Yeah. Imagine turning like legal age, like in this year when you just wanted to go experience life.
I know.
And like that baby, like, do you think like having masks too affects like baby's ability to learn how to like read emotional cues and stuff? Like,
no, well, I think because at home they don't wear masks, so I don't think it's much of a factor.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting thought, like just the amount of loss that we've had withstanding COVID, right? Because there's opioid overdoses, like were a record high, suicides are a record high. So many crazy record highs. It's been nutters. But I'm very hopeful that by July, things will get back to normal. And if not so, everyone will just insist that it goes back to normal. I'm pretty sure everyone's just done. Like, yeah, COVID, whatever, it's part of our lives now. So, eso que sí es.
See. Okay, so tell us about what you've been up to lately. How's your life projects and creative ventures?
Okay, so I did want to talk about this because I did something that I've not done ever, and I'm sort of proud of, which is I did a 30-day songwriting chain. So I believe this is from what's his nuts? Jeffrey Seinfeld? What's his first name?
Jerry?
Oh, Jerry Seinfeld. Yeah.
Okay. He's a songwriter now?
No, he's a comedian. He's alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. But I think I heard he was the one that came up with this or popularized this, where he told this guy, he was giving advice to this up-and-coming comedian. And he said, what should I do to become a comedian? And he's like, well, maybe just write a joke a day, like start your chain. And so then I took that and ran with it. And I'm not the first person to come up with this, obviously, but I decided to just go ahead and do a 30-day songwriting chain where every day I write one song, no matter what. And I did it. I finished it. And I didn't want to talk about it until I actually finished it. And it was such an awesome experience because, first of all, I proved to myself that I could do that. I think there's only 3 songs that I wrote that were based off of half finished songs from the past, but all
Mhm.
the other 27 were brand new songs that I wrote. And I did that in spite of practicum and in spite of other responsibilities. And I don't know. I think that just showed me that I am capable of doing it if I needed to.
Mhm.
And some of those songs are pretty good. So now I'm starting two other different chains. One's 40 day and another one is 100 days. Because it's been really helpful just doing something every day and sticking to it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. That's great. And how do you feel? How do you feel overall because of that?
I feel great. I feel like I've done something that will help me move the needle, because now I've written a bunch of songs that I can pick from, and then I can start producing and I can start working with. And it's just a great feeling, I guess. And it makes me feel more empowered in a way,
Yeah.
like I did that. We did that. And I could do that again if I needed to.
Nice. See everyone, that's what you can get. If you want to feel empowered and proud of yourself, this like habit formation and this type of like just repetitive, not repetitive, but like routine, like mini quick creation. Well, I don't know how quick it is to write a song actually, but
Depends.
is
Yeah, usually an hour
an
or
hour. Okay.
no, 30 to an hour.
That's pretty good.
One song I wrote in one take.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing you said is that you proved to yourself that you could do it, which is not
Yeah.
a bad reason to make a goal, especially if it's a goal that you've like put off multiple times in the past. Like, prove yourself wrong.
Yeah.
Show yourself you can.
And last week we were talking about intention, right? And part of the reason why I was doing this was so that I could become a better songwriter and just flush out a lot of bad stuff, because I wrote terrible songs too. Let me tell you, there's a couple that are horrific, but it got them out of me. And when you say like, just get it out, you actually do just get it. You do get it out. So
Yeah.
that was great. I think if other people want to try this out, one thing that helped me was, first of all, just saying that you would do it. And I know sometimes this is terrible advice, but when you just commit yourself and make no excuses, you release a lot of the energy where you're thinking like, should I do it? Should I not do it? But when you just say, literally, I'll stay up till midnight to finish the song, then you will schedule it in your day, because you have no option and you give yourself no option, because otherwise you take up a lot of mental energy just debating whether you should or should not. And then the second thing that really helped me was not putting other stuff on top of that. That was my one thing that I needed to do. And if I didn't do any other productive musical thing, I didn't care. So
Mm.
sometimes you just need to carve out space for one specific thing so you can get better at it.
Mm.
Anyways,
Yeah.
that was my exceptional thing, I think, for this past week.
Cool. And not to overwhelm yourself. And I like that that's a case of like an abundance mindset as opposed to a scarcity mindset when it comes to ideas. Like I think sometimes we have ideas and we write them down and we're like, oh, I only have so many good ideas. And you said it kind of like you got rid of the junk and you got out some good stuff, and it was like a fresh slate to keep going. And I think that's like, I mean, we talked about in Big Magic when we read that book, that like you can't, like, hoarding your ideas does nothing and no one's getting to see the fruits of those labor, and or yeah, and neither are you.
No.
And I think, yeah, it's like, I mean, who knows what you believe in, but if you kind of look at it as the more ideas I release out into the world or put down on paper, I'm kind of telling the universe that I'm making room for new ones to come in to me to be created. Like, you're not hoarding.
Yeah. And if you hoard it, you also don't know what terrible you have in your head.
Yeah, you think that's like the best you've got, when really, if you were like honing that skill and practicing, you're going to get even better and better ideas.
Yeah. And like I said, some days I wrote the first song I wrote, actually, I think is my best song lyrically, and concept wise. I think it's the most meaningful. And then other days, like after that, the great song, I write really bad songs. And the next day I write like a B plus song, and then the next day I write a D minus, and then I write an A plus song. So just like in life, creative ventures sometimes take a dip up and down. But usually they say in the music industry, and I'm sure you can apply this to anything in life, out of 100 songs, let's say you write 100 songs. So let me take my example. I wrote 30 songs, and out of those 30 songs, probably four are good enough to really become something that people can listen to, the general public. And so it's this idea of the exceptions too. Like there's a reason why it's called the exceptions, because it's not like the rest of everything else. But you can apply that logic to mostly life in general, or any creative endeavor. I mean, like don't expect everything you do to be just like super amazing. Because like Beyonce, for example, recorded 75 songs and only 12 of them made onto an album.
Right. Yeah. And by literally like the law of averages, a bunch of your songs are going to be below average, some are going to be above average, and a bunch are going to be average. And that's 4 songs that you didn't have before if you hadn't have done this challenge. And I mean, maybe you would have written those 4 songs, but I'm sure from the other 26, you learned something from them about what you do and don't like in a song and what works and what doesn't work, right?
Yeah. And like, for example, Mozart, another example of a prodigy. Most people can only name like 1 or 3 at best of his songs, like the average person. I'm not talking like classical trained people. But he wrote hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of works, which most of them are not recognized by people. And that was part of his process. And that's a part of the process of a lot of creatives. The more you have, the more you create, the more you can find, the more you can discover. And that's what I'm discovering.
No, that's good. I think we should use that to jump off and talk about consistency and practice and routine a little bit, if you're down.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Something I was thinking about is how routine, in terms of like a morning routine, let's say, like something to set yourself up for, like prime yourself for positivity and productivity in the morning, is super important, as well as review. So like on one hand, you set yourself up for success. On the other hand, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you review how you did. And do you know Brennan Burchard?
Yeah.
He's like really big in the like coaching self-development world. And I think he's like kind of off-putting to some people because he's just like really nerdy and like really energetic. But I've like learned a lot from him, and I think he's really great. And he has a lot of books that I like. And yeah, he's just always talking about the importance of like doing a review. And I was like, why am I so opposed to like these reviews? Like, why did they not stick with me, or why don't I do them? And I was like, oh, it's because I associate them with feelings of failure, because my review is accompanied by all the things that I didn't accomplish. So that to me is a sign that my like routine to set myself up each day isn't working for me, isn't sufficient, right? So pick like one thing that like if you got done by the end of the day, you would feel proud of yourself. Like what's the most important thing? Like we all go into the day and we have these like huge to-do lists, like for work or for personal sometimes. And sometimes we like skirt around the most important thing. So that's like an example of what he does. And then I think like reviewing your goals and your whys, as we've talked about before, is really important. But I guess my point here is just for us to talk about and reflect on like what about our morning routines is or isn't working, that's then causing us to either be able to report on our successes in our end of the day review or end of the week review, and what isn't working, basically. Does that make sense?
Do you have a morning routine?
Yes, I do, but it's pretty loose. So I think that another idea from Brennan Burchard, where he talks about, and I think we've mentioned this, like discipline now equals freedom later, which is like an idea that I just, like the word discipline like makes me angry. I'm like, yeah, but I need freedom, so you can't tie me down. And like the you I'm talking to is myself. Like that's the thing. So
what's your routine?
My morning routine is to review my goals and my whys for my goals. It sounds so dumb when I just say it like that, but it's like the deeper stuff. It's like, what do I like? What's the life I want to live? What goals have I broken down from that? And why are they my goals? Like, what's the real deep, meaningful stuff behind it? Kind of like we talked about intention before. Then below it, I have, and this is just like a document that I have. Then below it, I have like a kind of ever growing list of like what to do when shit gets hard. And it's
Mm.
like refer back to this, like read this passage you wrote, read this quote, and or like check out this reminder to yourself. And it's every time I have like a realization that like relights me up and gets me like excited to be productive and stuff and go for stuff, I like write it in there so that when I'm having those really shitty days, I can remind myself of that. Cause like, how many times do we have like a light bulb moment or like a, wow, I'm forever going to be productive because of this mindset shift I had today and everything's changed and I'm so on fire. And then like a week later, you're like, oh my God, like,
I feel a lot of people are feeling that because, again, it's every season, meaning it's spring. And it just, when it comes, like when the weather becomes warmer, people get a little more motivated to do stuff. So it's very common this time of year to feel really amped up to like get going and have so many ambitions, like you were saying, for sure. But you were saying your morning routine was pretty loose. Can you define that a little bit more? Like, do you have a set time or do you just go like whenever
oh, no. Yeah. I don't have a set time. I have things that I know that will help me, but sometimes I won't do them. So ideally for me, it's some form of movement, reviewing that stuff, and then just writing. Like no format, no expectations, just like start writing, which a lot of people call morning pages from the Artist Way book. Do you write like reflective writing at all?
Sometimes I did more consistently a few months ago. Usually when I have this sense of pressure in my head about a certain theme or topic, then I pull out that journal and start writing it out, and that's sort of helpful. But I haven't been daily journaling. I have been having a morning routine though. That's
Tell me
something
about
that
it.
I've been doing. So ideally it starts off just going to the gym, and then I come back and then do a meditation, and then I do my mantras. I start with a litany of fear. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is a little death that brings soul obliteration. I'll face my fear. I'll permit it to pass over me and through me, and when it has gone past, I'll turn the inner eye to see its path. And when the fear is gone, there will be nothing, only I will remain. So if you know that litany, it's from Dune, and I love it. And so I do that. I've been doing that every morning for a few weeks. And then reviewing emotions I want to feel about the life I want to live, and then looking at my general life plan from now till I'm 60. And then I go ahead and start my day. So when I said I usually go to the gym, sometimes I don't go to the gym, and I'm totally fine with that. I don't beat myself up about it. I think the most useful advice I got about working out or exercising is to not be so rigid, and rather just say that you won't let more than 2 days pass by without going and doing something physical or going to the gym. And that has been really great game changer. So let's say I was really tired like yesterday, and then today I'm also tired. Well, it's been 2 days, so then tomorrow I'll go to the gym. And then I don't have to go to the gym the next day. It could just be another 2 days, but at least I'm going more consistently than saying I have to go on Monday to Saturday. And then if you miss like Wednesday, you're like, oh, I'm just going to start on Monday again, which we do a lot of. Like there's a lot of that happening out there. It's like you set a time for your goal, and when you don't start that goal at that time, you screw the whole thing and just like maybe do it again next year. But
Yeah.
just pick it up where you left off. And I think that's the best. I think that's the best attitude, because like I don't have a set time for my morning routine either. I ideally would like it to start at 6, but sometimes I wake up at 7, especially since I'm on a break. But since I'm going back to school, it's probably be more consistent too, which is nice.
Nice. I was just looking up to see if we did an episode on morning routines because I thought we did. I'm having deja vu, but I don't think we have.
No, we haven't talked about morning routines because I've not recited the litany of fear on this podcast before.
Yeah, no. So what do you think about like reviews? So we have like the routine which sets you up for success ideally, and like make it personalized to you. Like pick from like the 3 different categories I would say of like some type of movement, like kind of in the body category, like physical connection to yourself if possible. something from the spiritual category. So like that could be just like, I guess like that could be meditation, that could be, you know, depending on you, that could be prayer, that could be any sort of practice like that. And then like potentially something from like the, I would say, mental category, like to get your mind going, like that can be writing, that can even be like a brain game, or that can be reading, or those are just three possible categories that you could grasp some things from. But ideally, like just incorporate something into your morning routine that makes you feel really good and puts you in the energy state that you want or need to be in for the day. So if you need to be calm for something that's coming up versus if you need to be really energetic and pump yourself up, like maybe that's going to affect whether you do yoga or you dance in the morning or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, and like Fenmore said too, like reflect on what's not only what's important for you to get done for the day, but what do you want to feel today? And when you get to the end of the day, what do you want to say? Yeah, okay, I felt this today, or I accomplished this today, or I was this version of myself that I really wanted to be today.
Yeah. And I also feel for some people it might be helpful to maybe stick to a routine. Say you're going to do this meditation for 21 days or 30 days, and then switch it up after that, because, you know, you might get bored of the same routine. But also you want to start building up a consistency over something and really feel how something works for you. And the only way you really, I feel the only way you really know if something works for you is if you try out for just a bit longer than just maybe like a week. So I would suggest that if you want to try doing something for a set amount of days, like my 30-day songwriting chain, because then you have a finite end to it, which for a lot of people is a great kind of out, like, oh, I don't have to do this for the rest of my life, which you don't, by the way. So maybe if that could be helpful to you in starting a routine, knowing that there's going to be an end to it, and then you can review how that was for you for that period.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you, what do you think of reviews? I think they have an importance, but I want to know what you think.
Personally, I sometimes find that trying to get into my mind too often just becomes too convoluted and is not helpful. When there's something very specific that I need to address, I sort of just jot that down as a one sentence, like do this or don't do that again. And then I move on from it. But then again, like I said, sometimes something builds up in my head, a certain theme or topic, and that's like once a month, maybe I just jot down everything that's been building up. But on a daily kind of thing, I haven't been doing that. And maybe I should, but I haven't felt the need to.
Yeah, daily is a lot. Like I would say like
Maybe weekly?
a weekly. Yeah. And I think the importance of it is like you set goals, you do the morning routine, you have this, you know, idea of who you want to be and in the world and what you want to accomplish. But if you don't take time to kind of review it, how do you know where you're missing the mark? And how do you know if all this stuff is really working? And like be really real with yourself. Like, okay, well, I thought that meditation was for me. I thought that yoga was for me. It's something that's always talked about as something that's, you know, good for your mind and your body and calming, but it's just not. I just dread it every fucking time. But I really like every time I go for a walk. Okay, well, do that instead. Like get outside, feel good. Like or you know, what are goals you have that you keep missing? And then just kind of figure out, you know, what's going on here, what's the obstacle, what's the missing link, or do I even want that goal anymore? Like is that goal even important to me anymore? Is it just something that I've kept for years because I thought it was what I should do?
Yeah. And I think also reviewing and reflecting can be with someone, not necessarily
Yeah,
writing.
do it with people in your life.
Yeah, because I do remember a time where I was reflecting or reviewing consistently, and I don't think it helped me as much as it should have. Maybe I just wasn't as adept at doing that. I should try it more. But I think now that I'm doing chains, there's a more concrete thing for me to review. Like, oh, you did hit all those things that you wanted to do this week. Let's keep going. You know what I mean? Whereas where it's more like nebulous and strange, more undefined, then it's harder for me to review that. But I find when I'm talking to someone, it's easier for me to really express what I might not be consciously feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. Incorporate someone else too, and it puts an emotional connection on it, or not necessarily emotional, but the connection piece and accountability.
Yeah, for some people, talking literally is, that's why therapy works. Talking is the gate that opens up everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've seen like a few different ways that people do reviews. Like if you're sitting down and just saying, I'm going to review my week, like how are you even going to know what to say? Like I'm sure there's ones online that you can look up. I think Brennan does like he defines the different main areas in his life, like relationships, work, physical health, mental health, probably a couple others, and kind of rates himself in those arenas and kind of compares like to last week and why do I think that was, and that's one way to do it. You can make up your own questions of things that are important to you. I had a friend who made up her own kind of like weekly review sheet, which is cool. And it's going to change over time, and sometimes you're not going to reflect for a while. That's okay. But sometimes it might be helpful.
I think the biggest thing that you could get out of self-reflection too is just self-awareness. You start realizing the stupid things you do and all the excuses you make.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing to come out with, because I did come out when I was reviewing more consistently. I did come out with, oh, this is my pattern of making excuses for myself. This is what I usually say. And then I did stop actually making those excuses, because I just found them really cliche. I was like, stop being so fucking boring. Just don't make those excuses. God, why did I swear? I'm gonna have to bleep that.
Yeah, you've had a few F-bombs this episode.
No, that was my first.
No, you had another one. You
No,
said it
I
earlier
didn't.
at the yeah, you did. Fenmore had to censor me last time, so now.
Okay, so y'all might be confused. Like, wait, you didn't censor other podcasts, now you censor this podcast. The reason why I'm trying to censor it is because apparently on YouTube, they really not censor, but they subdue videos or content that has swearing in it. Unless you're a huge creator, then it doesn't really matter. But
I have to check that box every time that says this video is not for kids.
Yeah. Well, you have to click that anyways. But
yeah.
But we're trying to not make it explicit. We're just experimenting. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyways, I gotta stop swearing. But what was I saying about that though?
Stop
being boring. Yeah. Stop making excuses. Stop being boring. That's what I got from our review.
Yeah. And if you don't have another person there, you kind of like try and talk to yourself as though, or look at your situation as though you were your friend or someone who cares about you, and kind of be like, okay, well, let's not, like, they wouldn't be super hard on you, but they might notice patterns that you don't notice. And like you said, I noticed the excuses I was making. It's like a friend that really cares about you and is nice and empathetic, but isn't afraid to like call out your crap. And we'll call you out on your excuses and stuff. But also, like, there's a balance between like, oh, I'm so terrible, I'm the worst, I can't do anything, and like, okay, let's be real with myself. Yeah, I make these excuses.
Yeah. And at least just tell yourself, I'm not making those excuses anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not. I refuse. I'll come up with new excuses. I don't care. My hair was wet. Anything but the same old. I got tired and I got... No, stop that. Anyways, we were talking about routine. I don't know where it went into self-deprecation, but I highly recommend including and memorizing a litany in your life, because it will make you feel like a badass. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings soul obliteration. I will face my fear. I'll permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I'll turn and I to seize the path. And when the fear is gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. And on that note, we want to thank our sponsor for the day, Chopsticks. Chopsticks. What it's good for is picking up chips that are really like, you know, those Cheetos, and you just...
Hot Cheetos.
These are really great for that. And if you're not good at using chopsticks, why don't you make that part of your morning routine? Grab some chopsticks, and just practice. It's great meditation.
Everyone, 30-day challenge, the
Third, it
chopstick learning
using
challenge.
chopsticks. Can you pick up a piece of rice with your chopstick? Make sure you go to www.getyourchopsticks and use the Exceptions podcast tag for 20% off. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Good luck. And let us know how you go with trying some new practices in your morning routine.
Yeah. And remember, have fun out there.